Okay, everyone, welcome. And we're just going to wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll start on time. So
I think Charlene's question is on. So she said that I'm curious to know how is it like working in a UX or working in UX for a big company versus a startup.
I see. Let's cover that as well. Yeah. I think Razer, I would say Razer is like kind of a startup. So like when we were in the e-commerce team. So I think we can cover that. Wow.
Hi, Nick. Sorry, is that my friend?
See, it sounds like you have some friends here, which is really
yes,
great.
I do.
Someone messaged me and asked me like, what's the link for this?
Oh, okay. My friends are saying hi.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Hey, Megan.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, wow. Well, we already have like 50 over people here already. That is awesome. Okay, hi everyone. We'll just start in about a minute or so. I'll do an introduction of Maverlyn. I think that she deserves one, and definitely give you an idea of where she's coming from as well. Okay, guys, we're also live streaming this on Facebook, which I shared in our company's page. So if you want to share that, you can do that. The company page is CuriousCore. And at the same time, if you or if you're like friends with me, you probably have it on my Facebook page as well, right? Let's see. Hi, wow, we got some people with very nice backgrounds. Emma, your background is awesome. I'm just gonna go around and see some of your photos. It's like 50 over people here.
Thank you.
Wow, some of you guys have very beautiful photos. Lovely. Okay, let's start then. Looks like we have sort of everyone joining in. So I'm gonna split. Hi everyone, I am Daylon, and I'm the founder and one of the design educators at CuriousCore, which is a company I set up. And we are doing a webinar series. We're very glad to have Maverlyn, who is an ex-intern of mine back at Razer, to join us today. Really proud that Maverlyn has got to where she is today. From someone who I would say came to my General Assembly 1.5 hour workshop to someone who now works at Grab today, and she's gone through a lot for sure. And we'll get her to share her amazing career story in a short while. But let me introduce tell you a little bit more about Maverlyn. So Maverlyn is not your typical design graduate, right? She did not study in design school. She's actually a graduate of Singapore Management University. And she has done many internships with different tech companies, as well as advertising agencies before she landed her role as a UX designer, or rather a product designer, as they call it in Grab. So she has firstly worked for Razer, which was the company I was with, and she was my intern for 3 months. And she has then moved on to work for Shopee, and I'll get her to share like what is the difference between all these companies, Shopee. And then she went on to intern for Grab for a while before she was offered the position of either joining Shopee or joining Grab. And that's I think that was quite maybe that was not an easy decision, but we'll ask her about it later. So I'm really glad today for our first webinar, we have like right now in Zoom about 75 people. If I exclude myself, it's over 70 people. So that's awesome. Really glad all of you responded, and thanks for being on time. So I'm going to spotlight Maeve, and I'm going to ask her the first question, which is your career story, Maverlyn. Can you walk us through like from the time like you didn't know about UX to the time like now you're working for Grab?
Right. Okay. So thank you, Daylon. Wow, that was one heck of an introduction. Thank you. So I think like before that, I just want to thank everyone for coming on time and to hear me talk for the next like an hour or so, maybe shorter. Yeah. So I think how I got started in UX. So like Daylon mentioned, I was a business student in SMU. So I actually chanced upon UX about in the final years of my university. So that was about 1.5 years to like 2 years ago. And I remember how I chanced upon it was just, I saw it online and I saw like UX designer. I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting and really cool. You know, you have like an acronym in your job title. So I was like, oh, okay. So I just did some research about it. I searched up like, what is a UX designer? What do they do? And I think while reading the description, I think something about it just like resonated in me because I'm also someone who uses a lot of tech products, and you know, I have a lot of apps on my phone. I think most of us are, and I really understood the importance of having a good user experience as a user, because if the experience is really frustrating, if it hangs on you, you don't want to use the product anymore. So I think that made a lot of sense for me. So after that, I started reading more books on UX. I just started doing more research on UX, and also attending like where I met Daylon. I attended this intro to UX workshop held at General Assembly. So apart from that, I think during that period, I also did some online courses as well. And after doing the online course, I realized how energized I felt, for the lack of a better term, like how energized I felt after doing the course. And I think that was when I really realized that, you know, I want to be a UX designer. So yeah, and I just like kept going after that. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing. So can you share a little bit about what really attracted you to being a UX designer? What was the thing that pulled you to, because you could have been a business graduate, right? Like that was what you decided to major in university.
Yeah, I think I think essentially when you do UX design or as a product designer, you are really just solving problems from a design perspective. You are just finding out what is wrong about the experience, what can be improved on, and then finding solutions for that. So I think it's really a lot of fun, really at the start to like unpack like what is the problem statement, what are the pain points, why is the experience so bad, or like yeah. So I think that whole solutioning part was very interesting for me. Like I found it very interesting. And also as a business student, you know, like a lot of case studies, a lot of like unpacking. So that was something that like I just gravitated naturally towards. And I think about UX design, what I like about it is that you're actually producing something like tangible. Like you are making the experience more seamless for the users. And if you see your users using your product like well, they get through the steps, you know, you feel that there's like a sense of like fulfillment, which I really like, you know, you feel like, you know, you have helped them in some way with the product. So yeah, I think that is something that sense of achievement, that sense of fulfillment is something that keeps me going at work as well, even now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So I'm sure a lot of people here are interested to know like how you managed to join the industry as a non-design graduate, as I shared.
Yep.
What do you think was like your secret, or what do you think was like how do you manage to join? Do you want to tell us the story?
Right. How I managed to join. So, I think, so I think like I mentioned that I was, reading a lot and then doing like courses online to just like get familiarize myself with the theory. And I think and I think it's also important to, especially from someone with no design background, to also look at your current projects and to see how you can make a digital product out of it. So this is like also a tip that if you are looking into breaking into UX and you don't have any UX or design background, is to look at your current projects and see whether you can to apply your skills that you have learned, but be it like online courses or like books, and just apply it and create a digital product. So for me, when I started out, I did a pet project. So I just came up with an app that I think it helps you to save reduce food wastage or something like that. So I just did that. I worked on that. And then in school, I remember I had a class on behavioral science. And what I did was that for the final project, I created an app for the project, and I weaved in all the psychology theories, the behavioral science theories that I learned in class to justify like why I designing in a certain way. And my professor was very chill with that. So and I think in the end, I used that project that I documented in my portfolio, which I then like submitted to like when I was looking for internship, looking for a job. So I think, so I think those were the things that I did to really apply what I've learned and use that to apply for jobs, for UX jobs.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And I think what you mentioned was, and what I hear from this was that you had current projects and that you knew like you had certain strengths. So you spent a lot of time working on those current projects and making sure that it was related to a digital product. So you gave yourself as much practice as possible, despite you not being a design graduate in this case. Caden's asking, how long did you take to create the food wastage app?
Oh, that I took about I think it was about like 3 months, 2 months, I think. 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And was that like working on it every day, like 8 hours a day, or it's just like in the evenings or something?
Not really. So I actually did that project while I was on exchange. Like so in university I went to Canada for exchange, and I think during the exchange I worked on this project, and I documented it down. I think it's somewhere on Medium. So
Okay.
So it's there. So so I just worked on it. I didn't do it like 8 hours every day. So it was just something that I did whenever I had the time, and it lasted for about like maybe 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna share a couple of things which I thought was pretty impressive, and I think why Maverlyn is where she is today. So when Maverlyn applied to Razer for a role as a UX designer, she actually applied multiple times. Like I wasn't looking for an intern at that time, but because she attended my UX workshop, which is 1.5 hours, and then I kind of knew her, but I wasn't really hiring like anyone. But she like emailed quite a number of times before I said, okay, fine, I have a UX designer joining. Maybe you can assist her, which is Angela. And then I just put them together, and they both joined at the same day. And I said, okay, now UX is part of your portfolio. I have a lot of other things to handle. Please take care of UX. So why don't you share with the group here, what did you what do you learn from Razer? And then we'll talk about what you learned from Shopee and from Grab, later.
Right, sure. So yeah, like Daylon mentioned, like Razer was my very first UX internship. So before that, all my UX knowledge was like from the online course and when I applied to my projects, my school project and everything. So I think like the learning curve was really steep. So at Razer, I was exposed to all the UX jargons, or like information architecture, content inventory, cut sorting, like all these like UX techniques, right? So at first I was like, oh, like what is that? Like a new term. So there was really a lot of learning on the job because I really had no experience. And yeah, and like working with Angela, she's someone who is like super experienced and she's very strong in her research skills. So I think I really learned a lot in terms of like UX research, like how to facilitate interviews. Actually, during my internship, we actually facilitated interviews with like Razer customers to really understand like their consumption and their habits, like what would they want to buy and like how would they browse on the Razer web store. So yeah, and like, apart from that, what I learned was more like we also did like competitor analysis. So we would really examine the best practices for e-commerce and like to see how other websites categorize their categories, like why is it categorized like this way, to really understand the thought process of a customer going through this purchasing process. So like in seeing how we can take that and apply it to the Razer web store, which was like the department that I was in.
Yeah, we were both in this department, and technically the UX team was kind of like working very closely with me. And at the same time, we are incredibly sales driven, I remember. And I was asked to kind of like pursue sales. So I had other responsibilities as well. So we specialize in, I'd say this field is kind of like emerging. It's called growth design, right? So how do we use design to drive business metrics? A little bit about that later. So when you went to Shopee, what did you pick up from Shopee, like joining Shopee?
Right. So when I joined Shopee, what I really picked up from Shopee was UI. So UI is user interface. So if you've heard of UI UX, right? UX is the thought process behind like the experience, understanding the use cases, where UI is really more of the look and feel, the look, the colors, like the visuals of the product. So when I was in Shopee, there were a lot of like great UI designers there, and I really worked with them, and I really learned like to have an eye for design, because because I was a business student, so I think it wasn't very natural for me to like be very particular about the padding, like all the small like the pixels, right? So I think in Shopee I really learned how to develop the eye for design and to really be more particular about like the information hierarchy, like the visual hierarchy of things, like how to make the information that you want be more prominent, and how do I make maybe less important information be visually secondary compared to the primary information. So things like that was like something that I learned in Shopee. So I think it was a good balance. Like in Razer, it was very focused on like UX research, and then in Shopee, it was I was really honing and training that eye for design. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good point. So Charlene asked if you needed to prepare a portfolio. I recall you reached out to me after Razer. You asked me to take a look at your portfolio, and in order for you to apply to Shopee. So how much preparation did you need to do to get into Shopee, even if it's just an internship?
Yeah. So for Shopee, when for the interns, they are expected to complete a take-home project. So I was given a week to do to come up with the UI for this project and the UX. So the UX is like more of like documenting down like why you design in that way. I was given a week to do it, and I remember I took a lot of time for it. I think every day I would put in like hours to just like come up with the design. And actually, I reached out to Daylon before I submitted it, just for him to take a look at like, oh, what do you think, like to get his opinion. Because I feel that sometimes when you are working on something, you need a fresh pair of eyes to look at it, because you tend to be very blind to your design and like your process. So I think having him to come into the picture and like give me some feedback, to critique on some things was like really good for me to like improve further. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Hope that answers your question, Charlene. I mean, there are some takeaways that are along this video. When you went to Grab, how did you get an internship in Grab? Like what got you in?
For Grab, when I applied, I submitted my portfolio as well. Yep, and I during the interview, you just go through your portfolio, go through your design. Yeah, so I think that is quite I would think it's quite standard for a UX interview.
Yeah.
For Shopee as well, after I submitted my design test, I was called in for the interview where I had to go through my work with my interviewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like for some people who are like not familiar with this process of preparing portfolio, like just a sense, like how many projects did you had on hand? Because I remember looking at yours for the Shopee one, you only had like 3 projects or something. Am I correct?
For Shopee, yeah, I think it's either 2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay. But that still sort of like got you like just kind of like being very focused on making the best out of the project and trying to impress the interviewer got you a foot in the door, essentially. Yeah. So someone asked, how does your business background come into play when and does a business background useful for a UX designer?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like I feel that I mean I feel like in the beginning I always thought that, you know, yeah, like I'm not from a design background, like how can I be a designer? But I think after after doing UX design for like a few, like 2 years now, I feel that, like I mentioned about like UX design is not just about the aesthetics, but it's also about solving the problem, like understanding the root problem, like why is this happening, like what are the pain points. So I think that unpacking of the problem is something that I was very used to being in business school, right? Like they give you like case studies, they want you to do like evaluation. So I think, and I think also like being in business school, I wasn't too afraid of like the technicalities of everything. It's like numbers, like I'm rather comfortable. So I think that all also helped in that, so like the design process. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So business does have an advantage, and I'm sure for those of you who have a certain industry that you're already very strong at, there are some natural advantages that you can play to when you're preparing the portfolio. So there's a question on sort of like, you know, any recollections of grueling questions during the interview. What was the toughest question you got during the interview? I didn't give her, by the way, disclaimer, I did not give Maverlyn any tough questions.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I'm in a test.
I was just essentially I was very impressed with Maverlyn's persistence, so I said, okay, I'll just give it a try. But the rest of her interviewers needed that portfolio and more from her. So what was the tough question?
Tough questions. I think a lot of interviewers, they tend to give you very like situational questions. They'll be like, okay, if so they're usually like that even for the design test.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes they might just give you like, okay, if you're in our company and there's this problem, like maybe conversion rate is falling, like what would you do? Like guide us through like how you would get to the answer. So I think it's not really about like what will you design, right? It's more like the process, like what would you do? Would you like, and like where would you start first?
Yeah.
So it's really about the process and not like the final screen, which is the aesthetics of things. Yeah. So yeah, so I think that was one that a few have asked, and I felt that, you know, I had to really think very hard about for the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they question your process, that's the one where you had to think the hardest.
You had to, because I think like thinking on the spot. Yeah. I think for every interview, I think it's yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we got a lot of questions. I have to selectively pick. For those questions with regards to portfolio presentation, I will cover that. I'll cover that because we're going to do a workshop next week. So we'll cover more on that. But I want to, well, that's an interesting question here. So you talked about joining startups, right? So I'll consider Razer like a startup versus working for Grab, which is a bigger company, right? And of course, Shopee is also a different size, right? So what are the differences, and why did you ultimately decide like Grab is the company for me to grow?
Okay, so actually, I don't think that Razer is a startup. Is
It's
it?
not. I feel it's a startup,
quite big.
compared to
big,
Shopee and compared to Shopee and
Really?
it's only about 1,500, 1,300 people. Yeah, but the design team is like tiny though. Like our department was only like what, 30 people. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess like maybe in terms of like when I joined Razer, it was a very lean team, right? So
Yeah.
everything, I guess you can also use that analogy for a startup, right? Because it's also very lean usually.
Yeah.
So I think when I first joined Razer, it was really starting from like starting from ground zero. Like we really had to do like the content inventory, like so meaning like we had to scan through the website and to see like where does this button lead to, where does this button lead to, and so really understanding the website, because we had to just like do that at the start, because I think before that there wasn't any UX team for the e-commerce site. So actually me and Angela, so it's the other UX designer that I was working with, we were the first UX team on that website. So yeah, I think just really getting like, because it's not like the team is really there, they have all these resources for you, so you really have to like create those resources. So we created like a I think this like Google site to like capture all the bugs, like design bugs that we see on the website, and then we document it down. And then we get and then we get like people to look at it like, oh, why this looks a bit inconsistent, like what can we do about it, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So the difference, I would say, to summarize, is the existing infrastructure and the foundations that have been in place, right? So yes, Razer, I would say, is very much a startup. Then what about Grab? Like someone asked you, like between Shopee and Grab, right? You had job offers from both. Why did you pick Grab? Yeah.
I think for me is that like I think it's also like, because I actually was in Shopee for a while, like for the internship, and then I went to Grab for my internship. So I feel that in Grab, I feel that like for me, I felt the processes were, I really liked the design culture and the design process. And and I felt that it was a better fit for me. Because like in Grab, we call them like product designers, right? So actually product designers, we actually wear like many hats, right? So it's like you got to look at the UI as well and the UX, and you also got to think about the business needs. Because as a product, you're not just like looking at like the UI designer, you're like a product designer. So it's really understanding the use cases under like, so I think it's a more general, well-rounded position that I felt that was a better fit for me.
By the way, everyone, if you are interested, there is a great documentary on Netflix called The Art of Abstract, and they featured the chief design officer for Instagram. So if you want to understand the definition of product design, that's where he talks about it in detail. And Maverlyn kind of like summarized it quite well. It requires a bit of strategy thinking. It requires a bit of like UI understanding and UX understanding as well. And so someone asked you about your strategy, right? Your strategy was just to intern and then get in. Like, would that have worked?
Right. Well, I was right? So no, as in when I applied for my internships, I was still a student in SMU. So I didn't really apply for a lot of full-time jobs because I knew that I had a remaining semester in school. Yeah. So actually for Grab, I did my internship during my last semester in school. So I did school and the internship full-time at the same time.
Wow,
And yeah,
super
so
intense.
yeah. So
Like even
yeah.
when you were interning at Razer, I remember you going to learn like coding. So I was like, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
I don't know why you push yourself so hard. Like it's quite intense. Working in Razer is already pretty intense. Then you're like, okay, I want to push myself more.
Yeah, I remember like it was after work hour, like, oh, Daylon, can I leave early? I need to go to like Harbourfront for my course.
Yes, I
Yeah.
recall that. Has it helped you though, like learning coding and now joining as a designer?
Right. So as a designer, you are you are not really, you're not expected to code, right? Because we have the software engineers and the developers for that. But I still feel that it is if you know coding, it could be an advantage because you understand the technical constraints to your design. So rather than, I mean, you design, wow, this like pop-up, whoa, this button sheet, very, it looks very fancy, but sometimes it might not be very practical to build because it might take too long, and sometimes the effort to reward ratio is just like it's not balanced. So the understanding the constraints will help because you build more realistic practical products, and then it'll be easier. Like if you talk to your engineers, you can understand them, and like the handoff is a lot smoother as well. You won't get a lot of pushbacks. Yeah. So
Cool.
I think it's a good to have, but it's not like you don't have to learn code to be a designer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. It looks like there's a lot of questions. Are you okay to stay an extra 5 minutes if that's
Yeah, sure.
yeah, cool. Let's get some of these answered. Someone asked, and I'm also quite curious. Martin asked, right? Like, for people who are in their 30 plus or 40 years old, are they going to be discriminated if they make a career switch? Like, have you seen in the companies you join where they hired someone maybe slightly older or perhaps someone who is not traditionally a designer, and then they just decided to hire? Have you seen examples of that?
But I would say that because of the very short duration that I was in the company, so I didn't really get to experience like, oh, who's been hired and like really experience that. So I feel like I can't really like say that. But I think in terms of like non-design backgrounds, like I know in Grab, there are a lot of designers who come from very like a diverse background. Like I had one designer who was doing architecture, another designer who was a computer science student, and another who did marketing and is now a product designer in Grab. So I think like in Grab, I really met a lot of designers who came from very diverse backgrounds. And I feel that excuse me, it's like their diverse background is really is a way for them to value add to the whole design process. And yeah, like we all exchange ideas, like leveraging from our background. So I think that like it's quite a beautiful thing. Yeah. So
cool. Someone's asking how many designers are there in Grab, like roughly?
In
Quite a
Grab,
large design team, I remember. Yeah.
I think it's about like around 160.
Yeah, but how big is Grab as a company now?
Like designers or the people?
Yeah, so I want to maybe give a sense of proportion. So that's about 160 designers. How big is Grab as a company? If you don't count the temp staff and all that stuff, roughly lah.
Oh,
Is it like more than 10,000? Or
can we Google it? No, I really don't know the exact number. So
that's cool.
I'm pretty sure we can Google it.
Okay, can. Okay, so would you say this is still quite a small team as compared to like the size and the scale of an organization like Grab?
Like the team that I'm in?
Just like, is 160 designers like enough for like?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean it's a big team because also Grab has a lot of products and offerings. So I would say that if you look at it as a whole, yes, it's 160 designers is a big number, but in my team we have about 5 people. So in my team we are focusing on like a specific product in Grab. So like Grab has so many products. We have Grab Car, we have Grab Food, we have Grab Express. So there are like a lot of different verticals. So I would say that if you really look at the micro level, at the vertical level, then the team can be about like as small as like 4 people. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'd like to cover a little bit about the tech industry in general. Like, do you think you made a sacrifice by joining the tech industry? Like in terms of like salary terms, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I
like
feel like
compared to your peers who are in maybe like business or marketing roles right now. Like
right. I think definitely, like, as you know, a lot of tech products are like booming right now, right? So inevitably there'll be a natural higher demand for people to service these industries. So for like new age tech jobs, like data analysts, for engineers, for UX designers, because there's a higher demand, naturally, I think the compensation and the salary will be higher.
Yeah, I often tell my students, like, if you like, now that I'm teaching in Republic Poly, I tell them that how much you're paid as a designer depends on the scale of the problem you're solving, right? So you're in grad and you're solving problems that affect millions of lives, and naturally, I think the compensation will kind of like match that, the scale of that problem you're solving. I want to cover one last thing. Someone asked about the magic number of how many case studies you have to prepare for your portfolio. What do you think that magic number is?
Right. I think for my portfolio, I had I think I had 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say, like, if you really, I feel like sometimes the quantity doesn't, I feel like the quantity doesn't really matter as much compared to the quality of your work. So if you have like maybe 3 that you feel really confident about, like you feel like it's great work, like good design process, I think it's okay if you have just 3, even though it might seem like not many.
Okay, that's fair. I think what matters from my experience looking at portfolios and going into interviews as well is that you prepared a variety of different case study that shows your thought process. So for example, you may have one that talks about the web, a web design project, and you may have one that talks about the mobile, that's very, very mobile focused, and one that maybe focuses on content or something like that. So you kind of show. And I think the one question they always ask during interviews is like, what do you think is your strength in in the UX design process? They ask you like, is your strength research? Is your strength like UI? So that's one of the favorite questions I got. There are definitely more questions, but and thank you everyone for your wonderful questions. But I think we have to end here. And Maverlyn, you can be reached over LinkedIn, right? So everyone can just like
actually,
find
I
you.
mean, like, if I can like answer a few more questions, like if we like I'm okay like staying a bit longer.
I think it's better that we just kind of like wrap it up.
Oh, sure, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
let's just do that. So we're not going to finish the session yet, but I would like to share a little bit of what is going to come in the upcoming weeks. So Maverlyn, everyone can reach out to you on LinkedIn. That's cool.
Sure. It's Maverlyn Low.
Yeah, I just typed your
LinkedIn.
name over there.
So can you like have like, click down below, like pop up, like,
I was trying to find that.
Please make it work, Daylon.
Yeah,
like, we're all in tech. Make that happen.
Okay, got it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, reiteration, right? Not perfection. Prototype first.
Kidding. Yeah.
So I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm just gonna share like what are the upcoming events that we have. Maverlyn, feel free to stay around if you like.
Sure.
Okay. So what we are, so these are some of the upcoming events. And if you enjoyed the event today, please feel free to share your learnings, right, from this event on your social media channels. And use the hashtag leading into change, because that's the whole idea. We're here to understand UX career and the possibilities. And we're also leading into change now that we have COVID. And that's also one of my mantra. So if you do that, what I will do for you is that I will send you a 10-page UX career guide that I usually only give to my own students and people I coach, right? So this career guide will tell you how much is a UX designer paid in the industry, who is hiring right now, and the companies you can join. I'll share my recommendations, as well as some of the common interview questions and what do you need to prepare for. So if you like what you're hearing, please share them on social media and do the hashtag leading into change. I will find you. If I have your email, I will email you the report. Okay. And next week we're going to have 2 events. What we're going to do is that if you're interested, so Maverlyn attended this workshop that I used to conduct in General Assembly, right? It's a 1.5-hour workshop. Because of the extraordinary circumstance and situation right now, I want to offer it to everyone on a donation basis. And it's okay if you're in a financial bind and you don't want, and you think you can't pay, just let me know. I'm happy, more than happy to have you in the workshop. So what are we going to do? We're going to cover the essentials of what user experience is, and some of the basic questions you were asking as well, like and what UX is, what is the process, what is the fundamentals. I'm going to cover all of that on Monday. So how do you sign up for it? If you're already in this Zoom call and I have your email, right, and I acknowledge that I have your email, you will get an invitation automatically. So there are 2 dates for it, 11 May and 18 May. Feel free to choose and RSVP to either one, and we'll do a Zoom session. So this will not be broadcasted live. This one you really need an invite. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, please PM me or try and get invite through admissions@curiouscore.com. Okay. And on Wednesday, same time next week, I'm going to have an ex-student of mine. Her name is Yuki Shaw. So for those of you who are freelancers and who have been looking at like how can you transit into like a UX freelance role, Yuki is a designer by training, and she works with clients in Japan and Singapore in the hospitality and luxury industry. So she came for my 2-day intensive classes, and I'm going to get her to share a little bit like how does she manage to still get clients and projects despite COVID. At the same time, like how has UX as a process enhanced her hireability to her clients. So same time next week, you're also going to get an invite for that. And there's something with Grab. I have a very good affinity with Grab designers over here. Jason J. Demetello, which is a lead UX visual designer at Grab. He has very kindly offered to do a portfolio review night together with me, and we'll do it on the 20th May. All right. So once again, if you're already in the list, you'll get an invite for that, and that will be sent. But what I would like to ask is that if you would like your portfolio to be reviewed, you have some time. You have about 2 weeks. Please send them to admissions@curiouscore.com. I will select maybe 3 to 5 portfolios for that evening, and we'll review it, and we'll share the recording so everyone can learn like what does a UX manager, a senior UX designer look out for. And just to share with you, Jay, he works in Grab, but he was originally from Silicon Valley, right? And he was like asked to come here to join Grab. And he also has been an educator. He taught in a college in the US. So it's going to share. It's going to be quite an intense session. So be ready for that. I'm also getting some of my other friends who have greatly volunteered their time to come on board to review this. Okay.
Oh, I've also worked with Jay as well.
Okay, you want to tell others a little bit about Jay?
Oh no, what?
Do you want to share with others like
oh
what,
no,
what,
no,
about Jay? Okay, cool.
No, like we just worked in the same department. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, Jay's an awesome guy. You can see how happy he is over here. Yeah. So just to share, like last of all, we just launched this. If you have friends who are business owners or freelancers and are trying to like build their own website, there was a career not career. I mean, there was an initiative I did or course I taught just to kind of like get them like basic web skills to set up a website in one day. Because a lot of them are struggling right now without ability to transact online. So I designed this course. We just launched this course literally like last night. I'm getting some of my past participants from the live workshop to test it now. So go to CuriousCore.teachable.com. If you need a promo code, if it's something relevant for you, once again, reach out to me. And yes, last of all, call to action is for you to get on the list. Email admissions@CuriousCore.com if you're watching this on live Facebook. I'm going to definitely collate the questions. We're going to put this interview recording live. So on Facebook is already recorded, so you can review it. On LinkedIn, I'm going to try and see if I can auto transcribe it using tech products and get it on LinkedIn as well. So you can actually view that. Okay, let me see if there are any questions before we end the call in about like 2 minutes. Let me try and. Are there any other questions? Okay. So the hashtag, everyone, hashtag is, please don't get the hashtag wrong, leaning into change. So just tag, you can take a screenshot of this particular interview or the Zoom call, everyone. So next week, I'll see some of you for our events. Until then, everyone, please thank Maverlyn for being on this call, and I wish to see you sometime this month.
Oh, no worries. Thanks everyone for taking the time to hear me talk. Yeah, hopefully that helped some of you guys. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
Enjoy the PH tomorrow if you're in Singapore.
Yes, public holidays. Vesak Day, happy Vesak Day.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to end the meeting. Everyone, thank you for attending. Maverlyn, thank you once again. So sorry, do you guys share online? Yes, we will share this online. It's on our Facebook page as well. Just kind of find CuriousCore on the Facebook page, and I will share it on my LinkedIn. Maverlyn can be reached on LinkedIn. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Great questions, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, we're sorry we couldn't get to answer everything.
I think we covered quite a lot of ground.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're good.
Great.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.